This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are on May the 14th, 2022. And I just got off work. And my reward for putting in a hard day, I get to talk to my gorgeous guest that I got on the show with me today. And she's not dressed in black. I'm so used to seeing her dressed in black and creating havoc for all kinds of people, except those that smear lipstick on their face. But other than that, folks, we know her from Night of the Demons and among other things I'm going to talk to her about. And she's also a champion for animals. Folks, I give you the beautiful Amelia Kincade. How you do, Amelia?
Wow, it's so nice to be here. I'm in New Mexico and man, it's 102 in the shade. So we're just going to continue to heat it up. Hot,
Yeah.
hot, hot. Yeah.
I take it you weren't familiar with my neck of the woods, judging from her last back and forth email.
I did not see, I didn't realize there was any part of Canada that wasn't on the US time. And I've worked in Canada, when we shot Demons 3,
Mm-hmm.
we shot in the woods outside of Montreal. And it was absolutely beautiful. And then I've taught animal communication in Edmonton and in British Columbia and out on Cortez Island. And I didn't know that you were on a different time zone. So I'm glad we made it connect. You see, in Hull House, all of our clocks run backwards. So it's hard for me to catch up in the muggle world. What's going on here, down here on Earth.
Yep. Nope, a lot of people don't know we exist here. I had somebody, a guest out of Florida that was like, "You mean there's a time zone ahead of me?" Yep.
Wow, yeah, it's amazing. You're in New Brunswick,
New
correct?
Brunswick, Canada.
So you're more on the way to London, aren't you? You're more on the way to Europe. You're
I
really far east. Is that correct?
I don't know. I just know that we got Nova Scotia right next door to us, and you know,
I think so. I've got to look at a map, but
hmm
I'm glad we finally connected one way or the other.
yep. Nope, we got it. I remember I got called for work, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to tell Amelia to reschedule this again," and but I the job I have at the hospital, I'll tell you a little story there. I worked as a cleaner through COVID. You know, the problem is cleaners aren't exactly paid very well. And I had somebody in one of the buildings I was cleaning in tell me about getting a cleaning job at the hospital because you get 19 or $20 an hour. And I'm like, okay, compared to 13, yeah, I'll
It's not
go with
bad.
that. Yep. So I got this job and I haven't missed a day since. And so I'm trying to, like, it's nice to be to put money in my savings. So yeah, so I try not to let them down, but where I'm a casual there, my schedule is kind of all over the place. I got some shifts scheduled, but I could also be called in. Now, I was able to do this one because I was scheduled earlier today, so they weren't going to have me do a shift back to back. So,
I think $19 an hour is more than what we got paid on Demons 1. So I think our affirmative action movie.
you guys got paid in Linnea.
Oh, we got paid so little money. It was really a labor of love. And it wasn't just the actors who got no money, it was everybody. And at that point, Steve Johnson had just won an Oscar for Ghostbusters.
Hmm.
And he was quite honestly the best special effects artist in the world. You know, and he will remain that forever, in my opinion. And we did it because it was exciting and fun, and or we thought it was going to be fun. You know, I did the special effects for the first time thinking that they would be fun, and most of it was torturous. So by the time we got to the possession scenes, it was completely authentic. I wasn't acting by that point. I was ready to kill everybody after I did had stuff glued to my face and contacts in my eyes and fangs that made my gums bleed for about 6 hours, 9 hours at one point with the burn makeup. And then standing around all night or sitting around all night in that black wedding dress. Sometimes we shoot in the wee hours of the morning. And it was method acting by then. And then it took another hour and a half to peel it all off in the morning. So you would think that I would never do it again. But the thing is, if somebody comes along and they say, do you want to play the lead in a movie? You're going to say yes.
Hmm.
Of course, you're going to say yes. Especially if they've written a whole new cast in and you're the only person they brought back. Of course, you're going to say yes. So a lot of people don't even know about Demons 3. Demons 3 was shot in Canada. And it's got some pretty fun, exciting elements to it. It went straight to video. But tomorrow I'm giving an interview for, okay, follow this line of reasoning. An Italian man living in London, filmmaker, who's conducting the interviews that are going to go in the new Blu-ray for Germany. So they're
Okay.
coming out with a new edition of Demons 2 in Germany. And this time I'm not on camera. When they released the Blu-ray of Demons 1, they sent a camera crew to me in Johannesburg. And I was down there doing charity work and teaching animal communication and working with great white sharks and penguins and at a cheetah rescue and defending and rescuing lions from canned hunts. And this was before I started taking people to the gorilla, but I'd always gone to Johannesburg to teach animal communications. There's always been Africa. I went to Africa every year for 19 years in a row. And after this, it might not happen this year, but the safari's on for next year.
You know something? Before we talk about Night of the Demons, let's talk about that because a lot of times when I go on YouTube, I look up African wildlife videos.
Oh,
I'm fascinated with animals in Africa. I mean, my DJ name's the Python Hyena. You know, of course, Africa has the African rock python, the second longest snake. Of course, the spotted hyena. You know, I love the spotted hyena, but there are so many fascinating animals in Africa. You know,
so I know the python and the hyena personally. I know the black mamba personally.
love the black
And
mamba.
you need to get my latest book. My last book is called Whispers from the Wild. So the opening chapter is about my Aunt Rue of Golden Girls fame, who played Blanche on the Golden Girls, the hottie.
She's your aunt?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's the only reason I took the role in Night of the Demons one. I didn't want to be an actress. I was a dancer. And my Aunt Rue pushed me into it. It was the first year I was in Hollywood. I came out to be a dancer.
I just
And
remember her in that dance scene in Out to Sea with Walter.
it was brilliant and incredibly funny. And my mother and I, so my 82-year young mother and I just flew to Chicago, and we were the guest speakers at the first Golden Girls convention in the world. So it was a phenomenal success. And people flew in from Europe. There was somebody there from Australia during COVID. And you had gay guys dressed as Golden Girls, women dressed as Golden Girls, everybody dressed as Golden Girls. And it was just a colossal love fest.
I know a wrestler whose gimmick centers around them.
Oh, great.
Jerry Swirls. He doesn't dress like a Golden Girl. I don't know how it goes into his theme, but I had him on the show, and he did a lot of Golden Girls talk.
That's funny. That is, we need to get him to the next Golden Girls convention, because after the success that it was, it might not be in Chicago again, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be an annual event.
Do you want me to give your email to him?
I do.
Yep. His name's Jerry Swirls. He lives in Florida. He's a wrestler. I come across him because I've interviewed Roddy Piper's daughter, Ariel, and she is part of the same promotion as him. And I thought Jerry was pretty funny in some of the promo skits leading up to their big fight, you know. So
he better be playing Dorothy. I don't know which of the other ones other than B. Arthur could be a professional wrestler, unless he's playing Ma.
Oh, he just beats himself in the ring. But I would have to go back through my interview with him. Maybe I'll even have to send you the link to that interview, because when we did the Zoom, he was actually in the ring late at night, just there with his laptop, and we did some Golden Girls talk. So
oh, that's wonderfully funny.
Yep.
I'll try to get him in the next convention.
Oh, I think he'd love it.
Well, back to my story. The first chapter, there are stories about my Aunt Rue that are incredibly magical. I've written some metaphysical secret moments that are life-changing. And I'm not gonna go into it here, because people need to go get that book if they want to read about it. But there's a reason she's in the tiger chapter. And there's a reason she pulled out of a coma the night I spent with her in ICU, and high kicked her leg when the doctor said she'd never move again. And she pulled out of that coma, and we had another 9 months together. That was because of tiger magic. But back to the book, the first chapter is about tigers that I've worked with in Thailand, Florida, California, Hollywood, and my favorite tiger sanctuary is in Johannesburg. No, it's in the Free State in Africa. So one man has single-handedly almost completely saved the species from extinction. And that goal is to move all of the Asian endangered tigers to Africa, where, believe it or not, there's not only are they safe, they're in the biggest enclosure I've ever seen in my life. There are hills, there are rivers. It's as if they were wild, and you may or may not see them, because they might not be coming out in the day. They come out for me. And if people are on my Facebook page and you see those two little pumpkin head tigers that I'm holding, I got to name one of them, and they were rescued from a canned hunting facility. Aurora, unfortunately, didn't make it because they have to fight for territory. And this sanctuary doesn't interfere with their normal behavior in the wild. But the other one, little Kumba, is now the size of a he's the size of a rhinoceros, maybe bigger. So the first chapter is tigers, magical conversations I've had with tigers, incredible things that have happened with tigers, elephants in Thailand, and then primarily in Africa, lions all over the world, but primarily in Africa. I see them in Zambia on my safaris. There's a chapter about whales that I meet in Hawaii. I take people to go see the humpbacks when they're mating, and they bring me newborn babies. I mean, they do insane things. And I take my students with me who can actually call the whales over to the boat. They're waiting for us by the time we get out there. Same thing with the lions in Africa and the elephants in Africa. So there are 5 elephants that'll be waiting for me around my tent or chalet before my plane lands, before I know where I'm going. I could land early before the safari, go to some other safari park that I don't normally go to, and not even know what tent they're going to put me in or what chalet they're going to put me in. This footage is up on my website. It's on the Safari tab on ameliakincade.com. And there are 5 elephants waiting for me. So this family took me in, and they're teaching us how they, as the elders, as the spiritual master teachers of the earth, they were here long before we were. And even in the Bible, they say the Garden of Eden was created first before the humans were. The elephants are teaching us, how do they communicate? Same thing with whales. How do they communicate? I work with great white sharks. How do they communicate? They're all using a kind of signaling system that is going beyond or beneath language.
Mm-hmm.
We're also using that signaling system. So no matter what language you speak, we're sending out imagery, we're sending out holographic pictures, we're sending out emotion, we're sending out intention. If you're talking to your dog and you're visualizing the wrong thing, which everybody does, and you're using the wrong words, which everybody does, and you're saying, don't go attack that other dog, the dog is getting the message, attack the other dog, because your body language is saying, and your emotions are all frozen up. And the dog looks at the woman and says, well, she's totally helpless. I better go attack the other dog. That's what she wants me to do, because that's what they perceive it. In order to send the correct message, we have to only use affirmative words. Relax your body. True alpha means calm, confident, and in charge. It's always sending love, joy, peace, excitement, hope, always being balanced, always being centered, always being connected to God, Goddess, the earth, the God within you. Call it universal creativity, universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it. It's inside every one of us. And the work I do is honoring it inside every other creature on the planet, and learning how to listen to information that we're already exposed to, and we've been trained to not pay attention to it. So we've been taught. It's a little bit like that Wizard of Oz. Don't look at the man behind that curtain. We've got the wizard behind the curtain inside each and every one of us. And this ability came with software. It's in your body. It's already there. And what's so shocking about the webinars that I teach and the workshops that I teach, I'm about to teach in the UK this summer, my first live workshop since COVID. And once I direct people to find this part of themselves, it's as if you had a off-on switch on your computer, which you do, a way to connect to the internet, which is our connection to all the planet and all the animals and all the living beings, and then a way to learn how to get email. So they're learning how to operate their own body and coming from the heart and the soul instead of just one hemisphere of the brain. Then there's a chapter about black mamba that I encountered in
Love the black mamba. Dangerous,
You're
dangerous
gonna
snake.
love this chapter. Yeah, well, if
Yeah,
I were,
the top of their head is shaped like a coffin.
if I were anyone else, I would be dead right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that tested my ability that can I connect to the beauty with reverence in another living being. Being dangerous is just one aspect of who she is. The black mamba it's in the top 9 most dangerous snakes on earth. She is the most dangerous in Africa. She's also the fastest.
Yep.
And it's a very ugly way to go. You get paralyzed and go blind before you die.
Mm-hmm.
They can move so quickly, it's like lightning. You can't even see them. If she had bitten me, it's certain death. And she was about 6 feet in front of me. And we had one of the most miraculous moments of my life. And that's, I think, maybe connected in some way to the whole Angela character, because in Demons 2, I turned into a 30-foot snake.
Yeah. Look at my buddy.
Ooh, look at you.
This is Skittles.
Hi, Skittles. Are you gorgeous? Are you magnificent?
Skittles, are you magnificent?
Oh, yeah.
Skittles, you didn't clean the apartment while I was at work.
No, your job is to be the attendant of Skittles. You are the giant monkey and janitor that works for Skittles, the cook.
Skittles?
And Skittles' job is to be your meditation teacher, your workout coach.
The only workout he does is sleep.
Then it's absolutely your meditation teacher. And you need to play with him.
Oh, I always play with Skittles. He's my buddy.
You need to
If you
play
look
with
on my YouTube, I've actually got a playlist of Skittles.
Oh my goodness. I'm a cat person, by the way.
Yep.
In my world, I'm not allowed to take sides. I work with an awful lot of show horses in this world. But I like cats. I like big cats. So I
Well,
like
Tiger's the biggest.
tigers, lions, leopards, cheetah.
Yep.
And I think I've had every one of them in my arms. Jaguar outside of Mexico City, caracal,
Mm-hmm.
all of them. And every one of them is God's perfection. They are God's magnificent. Magnificent. It is the most sophisticated design on earth.
You want me to tell you what I saw a funny YouTube video. This guy that was working at a zoo decided he'd do an experiment. Something that people always do with their house cats. He bought one of those laser pointers. You know, you make the cats follow, and he took it into the zoo to see if the cats would, the big cats would go after it. Lion didn't bother. Tiger didn't bother. You know, the ocelot or whatever they call that, that went wild for it.
Isn't that interesting? Well, it also depends on the time of day, because the big ones are going to hit their REM cycles in the afternoon. So it would be as if someone came into your house and tried to wake you up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So it depends on when he did it and if it was the time to play according to them. But what of the African animals are your favorite ones?
Okay, I'm happy to share this.
To see which ones
So many, but
see?
I'll tell you the ones I'm really crazy about. Of course, I like the African rock python. I like the spotted hyena a lot.
Oh, I know them.
I like the African elephant. I like the hippopotamus. I like the rhinoceros. I like the Cape buffalo. Oh man.
Know them well personally.
And one that I don't hear about a lot, but I think it's a gorgeous animal, the sable antelope.
Oh,
What a beautiful animal.
a sable antelope.
Yeah.
Where I go and take people, there are puku kudu,
Mm-hmm.
wildebeest, every sort of antelope on the face of the earth, a whole lot of crocodiles, a
I
whole lot.
like crocodiles.
We go out and have lunch with the crown cranes and watch them dance.
Mm-hmm.
And we would get out, which you have to be very, very careful. You've got a guide with you if you're going to get off the truck to go visit the buffalo. I'll tell you, one of the most remarkable things about the work that I do is that oftentimes, as soon as I arrive, one of every species will be waiting. And it'll be just shocking. They'll be waiting by the side of the road at the gate as we pull up. And the elephants are actually waiting in the lobby of the hotel. So I take people to the only place in the world where the elephants walk through the lobby to get to their favorite mango tree. So I think that this is what one of the things I want to talk about. This is one of the things I want to tell the fans. None of this is given to you on a silver platter. No one ever comes along and says, this is what you love. This is what you care about. This is what you're going to devote your life to. This is what you're going to save all your money to spend on something that is so deeply, passionately rewarding. You have to find it. And you have to find it before you have the means to do it. When I decided that I was going to do this, I didn't have a penny in my pocket. I had a credit card. So I'm going to Africa. And I think after my first book was published, I started getting requests from people around the world. Will you come help me with my great white sharks? Yes. Will you come help? My elephant stepped on a landmine in Thailand. We need you. I'm on a plane. This tiger's going to get killed because he attacked the person. He attacked the keeper. No, he's not going to get killed. I'm on a plane. And what that requires is focus and sacrifice. And once you commit to it, and that you're willing to say, I love this, and I'm going to give my life meaning. I'm not going to wait for someone else to give my life meaning. I have to do it myself. Once that credit card comes out and once you start going, people are going to come out of the woodwork to support you. You would think that I would have gotten hung up and strung up on a cross by now. How many times I've gone on live television and said, we all have supernatural powers. We all have psychic powers. All animals can talk, and you can listen to all of them.
Can I ask you a question? When you said you encountered the black mamba, what did the black mamba say to you?
We were in a world so outside of space and time.
Because snakes are so misunderstood, you know?
I work with snakes all the time.
Yeah.
And I've had cobra in my
Mhm.
workshop in South Africa. I've held them with their teeth. I've held them. People don't save animals they're afraid of. And people, and I put this on my Facebook page all the time, people assign beauty and people assign fear. So I know someone who's deathly afraid of mice. I know someone else who's deathly afraid of songbirds. Most people are afraid of insects and snakes. That's a part of our DNA.
You know what I have here? They're all stashed away because I'm kind of in the apartment. I haven't got them out. I must have some 20 stuffed snakes.
Oh, you really love them.
Yep. I mean, like the stuffed animal that you find in the toy stores, because they had all different colors and this and that. And I also too, there was a line of stuffed animals that were made that were done in very clear likeness of the actual animal, and the proceeds went to some kind of animal charity. And I got a black rhinoceros, I got a hippopotamus, I got a giraffe, One of my best ones I got was a red panda.
Oh, giraffes
Oh,
are marvelous. And the warthogs are hilarious and wonderful. And the rhino are fabulous. I mean,
mhm.
there isn't an animal on the planet.
I got a zebra too,
And the zebra are
Yeah.
great. And there isn't an animal on the planet that isn't already perfect in every way, except humans.
Have you ever had the giraffe stick its long tongue out at your face?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I've had them pose for pictures and say, wait, pull up your camera. We're going to do something really cute. We're going to cross necks. There's that picture. Pushing their babies toward me. Here's our baby. This is my new baby. They're very friendly because they don't have any reason not to be.
Hmm.
No hunting is allowed in the park. If they take one step outside of South Olinga National Park, the lions could get their heads chopped off. And some idiot will go fly it back to America and hang it over their pool table. But they are protected there. They have come out of that park when I was in a lodge outside of the park, and I was up with them and sent them back the next morning.
You know what I heard? You can might be able to clarify this. This is not an African animal, but I heard that the giant panda is not endangered anymore. Is that true?
I haven't seen them yet. So there's Asia is on my to-do list. I was on the way
Yeah,
to South Korea when COVID hit.
yeah.
And one of the biggest honors in my life is that two of my books are bestsellers in South Korea. And I
Uh-huh.
started getting emails from children in broken English saying that they won't eat cats or dogs anymore because of my books.
Well, another thing too, like I wanted to ask too, because I mean, poaching's a bad thing in Africa with elephants and rhinos in particular being hunted. Rhinos are in big, big trouble, especially the black rhino. I heard there's one place in Africa. Well, I think there's only one black rhino left.
Their projects, and I'm actually in on the ground floor of some of those projects
Mm-hmm.
to take mating pairs and hide them, but they have to be protected. And
Mm-hmm.
there are guys with rifles patrolling 24/7. So when I do my charity work, my charity is called Archangel, ARK, Angel. I go into the schools in Africa. This is how I use my dance background and my acting background. And we dance as lions, we draw lions, we make up plays, and we do improv theater about protecting the animals as opposed to giving in to the poachers.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought there is that if we educate the next generation of children and we catch them young enough that they understand the elephants love their families, the elephants have feelings, the lions are the financial stability and the only financial stability and future of these children. That if they don't get jobs on the safari parks protecting the African animals, there's no hope for them. And this it all revolves around tourism, which by the grace of God has now started again.
Mm-hmm.
And I may be able to go this November, but I definitely am going the following November. And taking people on the charity work is part of the safari. And we go dance with the African kids. I draw with the African kids. And it's working. It's working. And it's really, I think our goal here is if every single person did some small thing and not use as an excuse. It's all so overwhelming. It's, oh, they're eating dogs and there's this and the oceans are polluted. That's true. That is all true. But if every single one of us said, I'm going to go do this small thing, then we could turn this mess around. And that's what we came to this planet to do. So we need to get focused and really determined how can each person help this planet in some small way? If we hold that space for the next generation of kids, it's those children that are inheriting these disastrous problems. And it's those children that are going to turn it around. I'm already seeing these kids come in, and they have phenomenal intuitive abilities and talents, but they're brilliant. So we're moving in the right direction. And the more we join forces with this and know that there's hope, or we wouldn't be here, because we're the cleanup committee. And it's funny that you have a job that is literally cleaning.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. We have some certain hospital rooms where we have terminal cleaning, where we have to robe up and stuff like that and put face shields on to go in and clean. I had two people I was working with today, one female that's from here, and the other was a guy that lives here now, but he's from the Congo.
Wow.
And I spent I know we were cleaning a terminal, but I spent all that time cleaning the terminal, asking him questions, and he was telling me about the gorillas and the leopards and this and that and all that, and it was a pretty interesting little conversation, you know. And
No.
yep.
Some of the nicest people I've ever met on earth. Certainly the most loving, gentle, fantastic mothers, happy societies have been gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to the Rwanda side of it. And a part of the beauty of that is that the gorilla don't have to come down and see the human beings. There were only 850 some odd mountain gorilla on Earth, and that was pre-COVID when I went to see them. So I went 2 years in a row. If they don't want to greet human beings, they can go off into the Congo and you'll never see them.
Mm-hmm.
They're completely free. So that's charity work they're doing to come down and take meetings with the human being. They don't have to do that. And the mommies bring their infants to me. I had a teenage boy fall asleep on my feet. One time, one of the descriptions, one of the taxi drivers, you get fascinating conversations down there. And people come in from all over the world. So the tourists are fascinating too. He said that the best description he'd ever heard of it was when you find them. So you're walking through the jungle. They come down and see me, so I don't have to walk too far. But he said it's like interrupting a family picnic. You smell them before you get there. They have this really smoky, gamey smell, really magical smell. And then you arrive in their world, and the babies are hanging from playing quietly, and their moms and daddies everywhere, and everyone's completely peaceful. We're not allowed to touch them. So we walk along. They can touch us, and they do. They will come up to you and touch you. And exactly 1 hour into it, in the gorilla trekking, you have 1 hour. The silverback comes lumbering up between his group and the humans, and he just sits down like this with his arms crossed. And that means your hour is up. Then he takes the whole group and off they go. I'm sorry, go on.
I was going to say, are chimpanzees similar in that manner? Are they different?
I went to Jane Goodall's chimp sanctuary the last time we were filming there. Last time I was in Africa, but I will give you a magical chimp story.
Oh, okay.
Here's a magical chimp story. I was filming a BBC television show years ago at a place that had the most humane zoo I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
Molly Badham is the woman who was owning and running the zoo. She'd moved the enclosures back for the elephants so that they could walk a fresh mile every morning, which they need to do, or they're not going to be well the way that we're being kept. I'm not completely anti-zoo. I secretly work with a lot of zoos.
I
And I
think zoos are important because there's a lot of animals. Like, for example, the Toronto Zoo, for example's had luck breeding gorillas, I understand, and zoos, when done well, can help animals reproduce.
they can,
Hmm.
and some of them, and not only is every zoo individual, every animal in every enclosure is individual. I've worked with orangutans,
Love
and
them.
I phenomenal. That's a different story. I'm going to finish my chimp story. My
Yeah.
chimp story is that I was about to film this news program, and there I walk in, and I'm in an auditorium, and there are two chairs up on the stage. And I turned to Molly and I said, Molly, is the other chair for you? Are you going to sit with me in the interview? She said, no, darling, that's for Daddy. And I said, who's Daddy? She leaves the room and she comes back holding this chimp. I think I've got these pictures on my site too. I thought, as you would, especially in America, there'll be a moat between me and the bars, and then there's the bars, and behind that are the chimpanzee. Now the chimps have better enclosures because of Jane Goodall. Of course, there it is again. One person single-handedly changing the way all chimpanzee enclosures are. Primarily, maybe not all of them, but they're getting there. They have waterfalls, they have hills, they have beautiful plants to play, they have space. We need to be able to do that for all the big cats in all the zoos.
Yeah.
But so she comes in with this chimpanzee. I sit in the chair. She comes in, sits next to me, and just puts the chimp in my lap. So at that time, I had a really dark mole on my hand.
Hmm.
And I was getting a little bit worried about it because my family gets skin cancer. And I thought, this thing isn't quite right. I'm not sure I'm going to keep that on my hand. So Molly has a Band-Aid on one of her fingers. Danny looks at the Band-Aid and you can really see his gears turning. You can see what's going on in his mind. He gets the most compassionate look on his eyes, in his eyes. He reaches over, takes her hand, and he kisses the Band-Aid. Like, owie, touches it, kisses it. And then he looks at my hand and he sees that mole on my hand. And he reaches over and he touches it and he looks at me and he kisses the mole. When I got back to Los Angeles, I went straight to the surgeon. I said, take it off, it's cancer. The capacity that animals have is so beyond our reasoning. And I think that the reason that humans put them beneath us is because it's embarrassing. Your dog will make a fool out of you. Your cat makes a fool out of you on a daily basis and probably loves every second of it, but is waiting for you to finally catch on. So,
Well, my brother and sister-in-law had two ferrets. I'll tell you
oh, love them.
that.
Oh, I love them. Little sticky thing. And see, with this,
Everything I saw, watched them drag my sister-in-law's hair dryer down the hallway, and if they needed to find something, it was under the bed.
oh, that's so funny. I have a ferret story that's going to push people's limits if they don't know anything about my work. But I had a girl once who came to me and wanted help with her ferret.
Hmm.
And I started connecting with this ferret. Now, I didn't go out of my way to prove that reincarnation exists. I'm a witness to all of this. And I think that's probably why the animals talk to me. I don't go in with some big ego agenda. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm not even trying to prove that I can do it. I'm letting them lead the way. They're our teachers. And they're showing me what they're capable of. And I connected to this little ferret. And the ferret said, oh, I'm not a ferret. Now I'm seeing pictures, I'm hearing words, I have sensations in my body. I feel their emotion. I'm complete and total empath and medical intuitive. And I said, really, what are you? And the ferret said, oh, I'm the little black and white dog that died last May. Gives me the name of the dog. Said she used to sit on the couch and watch TV. Tells me all about her life. And I said, why'd you come back as a ferret? She said, because she moved into a new apartment building where she's not allowed to have dogs. So the spirit and essence, the intelligence and the beauty, now even on a quantum level, when something dies, there's a constant absorption and emission aspect of quantum physics. And every quantum teacher knows this and talks about it. But not only is the energy being released in exchange. So a flower is going to die in the winter and come back in the spring. Now, is that a finite amount of energy that we're talking about, a finite amount of souls? And are we allowed to change form? Apparently so, because I'll be teaching somewhere, maybe have 100 people in the room, and it could be Germany or England or Scotland or Norway or Brazil, and I'll say, how many of you feel like you have an animal that's you've had in a previous life, not your previous life, but that you've had the same soul in a different body? 75% of the hands go up. So how do you know it's the same one? Crazy, weird behavior, funny things that they do that only the other one would do. And then when they can tell me in detail what species they were, what breed they were, what their names were, what they died of, how they died, what's the name of the grandparent they've been staying with in heaven. The amount of information that's accessible is phenomenal. It's really like there's a spiritual Google, and you could look anything up and it's already there. But the primary device that makes it possible is unconditional love. And even Einstein talked about that. When on his deathbed, he said the biggest mistake he ever made in his life in his equation was that he wanted to substitute the word love for the word energy. By loving them unconditionally, I'm creating a space where they can share with me everything they're experiencing, everything they ever did experience. And even snakes, I have snakes in my workshops as often as I can, because people have such terror of them. There's this prejudice. Mm-hmm. I jokingly, and that people have the same feelings about spiders. And I have tarantulas in the workshops when I carry them around. They're like little kittens. And people are afraid of animals that have too many legs, and they're afraid of animals that have no legs. But where do those prejudices come from? And one time I was teaching, again, this was on the Isle of Man in the UK. We had a snake that had been in a school and isolated in a tank in a children's classroom. And the question about her was, why was she banging her head against the glass? She lost all scales. She was bloody. And two of the women in the room said, if you take that snake out, we're leaving the room. And I said, I'm just going to invite you just to stay present. Just be present and open your heart to this. I took the snake out and the entire room burst into tears. And they could feel her feelings, her frustration, human hands coming in, grabbing her all the time. She was in a glass enclosure. She didn't have anywhere to hide. She didn't have any privacy. She didn't have a mate. They're extremely emotional. They're affectionate. They fall in love. They grieve. Why wouldn't they? I mean, every human being has a reptilian brain, which is, there's some part of us that makes sense. Somewhere it's not the ape part that has any sense to it. It's got to be the reptilian part. I also love bearded dragons. In this,
Oh yeah.
the next webinar, which is tomorrow, the surprise guest is going to be the most magical looking tortoise I've ever seen. So I'm right there with you, with them. And that was the biggest breakthrough for the students when they discovered that what they were afraid of could love and grieve and hope and dream, that this being was every bit as emotional and intellectual and valuable as they were. And their fears dissipated. So there also was this huge catharsis. One of the things I say all the time, humans are afraid of all the wrong things.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you had an orangutan story that we did.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just thinking of that in the back of my mind. I didn't want to go back through this and like, I didn't ask about that.
it's also a psychic story.
Uh-huh.
One orangutan I secretly worked with, and I got to eat a gummy bear that he fed me in a kiss through a fence. He was a consummate oil painter. He was a brilliant painter. So that one was a very memorable moment. But one day I was in the LA Zoo, and this was a number of years ago, and a docent was walking me through. This is where I got more on board. Now, I'm not saying zoos are great. I'm not saying it's a wonderful idea. Certainly not the way the big cats are kept. And the animals that absolutely should never be in captivity in a zoo are elephants and gorilla. Elephants, they can't be isolated like that, and they can't not be able to walk miles and miles a day and forage as they eat. Male gorillas are dying in captivity because it's aggressive behavior to stare at a male gorilla. If eye to eye means it's aggressive and disrespectful to them, and they don't have control of their world the way they should. But in this case, this docent was walking me through explaining where all of these animals came from. There were tigers that had been kept in drug dealers' basements that were sitting on piles of cocaine that had never seen the light of day. They also used snakes in this way. All the animals were rescued from horrific, most of them, situations. So I had a moment alone with a female orangutan. And she came up to me, and we were face to face. There was a fence between us, but here we were face to face. I said, are you okay in there? And the orangutan enclosure is pretty cool in LA. They can swing, they've got space. And she said, oh yeah. Now, again, it's feelings, pictures. I'm clairaudient, so I hear words. But my students in Portugal would hear Portuguese. My students in France would hear them in French. Not because the animals speak those languages, but because the people do. So they're accessing our brain, and we're taking in this information into something that we can understand. I hear them in English. And she said, tell the humans. I said, thank you. I said, what did they do for you? She said, they just saved the life of my infant. My baby wouldn't have made it. Their doctors saved my baby. Makes me cry. And I said, you just had a baby? She said, oh yeah, I have a new baby. I said, where's the baby? That she turns around, swings off, and she comes back with a teeny tiny orangutan infant in her arms and holds it up and I can see it. And I said to the docent, she said, thank you for saving the baby's life. And there was some problem with the birth. The veterinarians had to take the baby, put it in an incubator, and take care of the mom while she recovered. And then the baby and the mother had just been reunited. I had no idea she had a new baby. So there are good aspects. There is wonderful work being done out there. I also work with orangutans in the Johannesburg Zoo because they brought in a male for the female and she didn't like him. I said, what's going on? She's like, he's not my type. He's just not her type. She's just not into him. I mean, you can't just assume that they're going to get along because they're the same kind of animal. It's a little bit like us.
Do you ever work with Komodo dragon?
Not yet, but boy, would I love to. I am a huge, huge dragon lover. I certainly work with iguanas and bearded dragons, and oh, they're fascinating and they're great senders.
Here's a question. Is there any animal? Okay, going back to the beginning of this, what was the most, like what animal was you most intimidated of at the start that you're not intimidated of now? Was there ever an animal you weren't sure of until you made that process?
The most intimidating animal is man.
Yeah, I agree.
Animals don't lie. They don't need to. Unless you have a cat. house cats will definitely get away with it.
Yes, Skittles is not around here to hear that.
And they also, if I go into a household where there are 5 cats and say, which one of you is peeing on the rug? They'll all say, I didn't do it, she did it. I didn't do it, he did it. All right, so cats will lie. But of the non-human animal kingdom, I didn't, well, of course, the black mamba was a great one. The first time I picked up a tarantula was a great one. I was in hysterical tears. I was scared to pieces. And this tarantula, I reached down for her and she reached up with one of her hands and I had one finger in her enclosure and she held my hand until I was ready to pick her up. Again, the whole room, I was teaching in Germany in Black Forest. The whole room burst into tears when they tuned into her. And I said, what are you feeling? The entire room, maybe 40 people, said she just lost her sister. Her sister just died, or another female that looked just like her. And the person confirmed that she had had 2 tarantulas in 2 different enclosures, but it was female. It wasn't her sister, but it was like her bonded sister. And the other spider had just died. Now, what that tells us is that they have emotion. They have emotion and they're having a holographic experience of a 3-dimensional reality the same way we are. But one of the most thrilling ones, and I have this chapter also in Whispers from the Wild, it was great white sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And the queen of the great white sharks took a meeting with me. And she took a meeting with me when I was cage diving. It was one of the most exhilarating things I've ever experienced in my life. So the way that I perceived this, I was sitting in my office in North Hollywood. I got an email from a woman named Leslie Rashaw. Mm-hmm. She's in South Africa. And I see this video she sends me of her diving, free diving, and she's holding the fin of a great white shark, swimming along, holding the fin. And she writes me and says, everything you've ever been told about them is wrong. Will you come help me with my sharks? Now, the shark soup thing is disgusting. And when they cut the fins off these animals, they throw them back in the water alive. So they're bleeding to death as they drown. That's how sadistic human beings are. That's why they're the most intimidating without any contest. Animals would never do anything like that. You eat it or leave it alone. You don't torture other
Mm-hmm.
people. So as I'm sitting there thinking, geez, great white shark, what do I know about great white sharks? I have a vision of this female, huge white old matriarch shark, and she swims through the air over me. And she has with her a dark colored, what appears to be a teenage boy. And I wrote Leslie back and I said, I'm coming. Now, this was about 6 months before. I got down there in a February and we went out in Hermanas, which is north of Cape Town.
Mm-hmm.
And she filmed me before we went on the boat, the night before the boat. And I said, there's a big female who's coming and she's bringing a teenage boy. And it's either her son or her nephew. And Leslie said, no, she can't be doing that. They're solitary hunters. They don't live. They don't hunt in twos. They don't stay with their family members. This is what all scientists believe. I saw them in a community. I saw a lot of them in a community. But I said, no, that is not true. This is what's happening. And the morning we were supposed to go out, she said, we got a big problem. There's no shark sightings. It's the wrong time of year. It's not going to happen. I said, it's going to happen. She's coming. She said she's coming to meet me. I flew across the planet to meet her, and she's coming. We go out on the boat, and all of these South African blokes are making fun of the little animal psychic from LA.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you will. Said 5 shark boats had gone back that morning, hadn't seen one shark. These guys fly in from Amsterdam. You know, they come in from all over the world. They're shark freaks. And they didn't see any sharks. So the owner of the boat and the company said, we're not going to see any sharks. And then one teenage shark showed up. Then another teenage shark showed up. Then another teenage shark showed up. Three. Then the boy came. 4. At this point, those African blokes were out of their minds. They were screaming. They'd never seen anything like this in their lives. We were about to turn around and go back. And I said, no, she's going to show up. She's coming. You wait. She's coming. We sat there for about an hour. And then in the distance, this fin appears. And it's thrilling. It puts a fear of God in you. I mean, every hair on your body, at the back of your neck, it stands up. It's incredible. And I got in the cage. They hadn't seen her for over a year. She was this old matriarch, and they know them by the little nicks on her fence. And she was the grandma, the queen of the great white sharks. And I went into the cage, and she came up to see me with a very, very big smile. And we took a meeting between the human species and their species. And this story is also in Whispers from the Wild. But people always say the one thing I didn't write about, they asked me, what did she say? She said, when the humans can teach their children how to communicate with our children, there might be some hope for the future of this planet. So they're using sonar, and we have it. We have it. It's emerging. And it's a leap of faith to believe that you already have these perceptions, that there's a way for you to see your relatives that are on the other side, or your future, or the health of people that you love, or the animals that you love, or what's happening inside your animal's body, what's happening inside their heads. There isn't anywhere else to go with our future if we're going to make it. This is the only way to go. Start having some compassion for the other beings on this planet. Plants too.
That is fascinating. Yeah, Scotty McCoy, of course, connected us, and he said that you're going to be taking a trip to Africa soon.
Well, we'll see. I hope to be able to go do my charity work in November, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when you're going to air this, but in 2 weeks I'll be in at the Fear Fest in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then in June I'll be in Canada. I'm doing, but not on your side, I think. So that's
Nobody comes to our side.
the Calgary Horror Fest. So there are places where I'm going to be able to go hug fans and dry tears and sign autographs and memorabilia and look at tattoos and look at all their amazing artwork. My God.
You know
But
what? In 2018, I went to Horrorama and I met Linnea Quigley.
I love her.
Yeah. And I got a bunch of stuff signed by her, including a picture from Night of the Demons where she's in the pink dress, staring over the back of her shoulder with her high knees sticking out.
She's a wonderful human being. And one of the most remarkable things about this, I dragged some of these people out of the woodwork so that they'd start doing conventions because none of us knew we had any fans out there. How would we know that? I got dragged out kicking and screaming because nobody knows about my movies. Nobody. And then the fans show up with tattoos of me on their body and the artwork. There's sculptures and oil paintings. And somebody, one time they were completely reenacted the set. They had rebuilt the set of Whole House. I mean, the things I see are so inspiring and so humbling. But the cast, the original cast, have come back together after all these years, and we're all best friends now. We absolutely adore each other, and I don't know if many movies can boast that.
Well, a lot of people point out for Night of the Demons that um, Alvin and Alexis, Raj is one of the smartest people in a horror film.
Yeah, well, it broke new ground in a lot of ways, and we didn't realize it at the time, but that was the genius of Joe Augustine, the writer. And he had a character who at that time was the first African-American actor to survive in a horror movie. And good wins out over evil despite everything in Night of the Demons.
Yeah, and of course, Linnea Quigley has new ways of using lipstick and new places to put it away.
She sure does. And she also got the biggest dog rescue that sleep in her bed with her in California.
Yeah, I know about that. I had her on my show on my birthday back in 2019. So
When's your birthday?
July 8th.
Oh my, you're Cancer.
Yeah.
Are you into crabs?
Am I into what?
Crabs.
No, I'm into. I'm a snake lover.
Oh, crabs are cool too.
I think so. Yeah, but I agree. But
So, do you want to ask me about the movie? I know people are dying to hear.
well, yeah, I know you talked about the makeup and the hours you spent in that. Out of the three movies, now I haven't seen the third one. I've seen the first two. But out of the three movies, um, which one did you have the most difficult time I'm trying to think how to word this difficult time in terms of how am I trying to word this here and I'm talking difficult time with other people, just with the makeup or just the experience and all, your most challenging part of the three films.
Um, The makeup for the snake, that I actually have arms, so I'm more like an iguana, but I was strapped in a trench, glued to a teeter-totter for 27 and a half hours. And I think that I hold the world's record, the only woman in the only female monster in the Hollywood Hall of Fame for horror. But also I will hold the world's record for practical effects forever, because this was pre-CGI and the makeup was not fun. I had 2 contacts in each eye. I had a ice chest that was filled with pineapple flavored tongues. So they were all different lengths, cherry blood, but none of it was fun. And fortunately, I was working with the brilliant and wonderfully kind and amazing Brian Trenchard Smith, who could make a purse out of a pig's ear, and he always does. So he's not given a budget either. He just makes these slick, gorgeous movies. And we somehow got through it. But it was undoubtedly that scene. And for that reason, it's the scene that I'm the most proud of anything I've ever shot. I also don't look remotely human. I scare myself. I can't watch it. And when I come out of that crematorium, I scare myself. Meanwhile, my tail, my tail was getting whipped around the room by Steve Johnson, who had it tied to a piece of dental floss. That's how low budget this is. And still, the scene looks amazing. Steve also could do anything with no money. And I think maybe trying to continue the legacy of the level of dancing through all 3 movies, where I wanted each solo to have as much impact. The second one on the table, I feel pretty confident that I succeeded. They let me improvise a lot. And I as an improv comedy actor, there are a lot of things that I suggest, and you can get away with that in low budget movie making. You probably can't in high budget. I don't know. I don't know how much Michael Keaton got to improvise in Beetlejuice. It seems like he certainly got away with some things that might not have been in the script. And that, folks, is why I don't do 2 shows a night. I mean, I can't picture that being in the script. I think that came out of Michael Keaton's mouth. But I said, can I just pick up this punch bowl and pour it down my dress? And they were like, sure. So there were things that I had to try to continuously outdo myself. And if you haven't seen Demons 3, you're missing some fun, because it's fun too.
By the time Demons 3 came, like you do the first one, then you progress to the second one, then to the third. Is there something you brought differently each time, just to kind of challenge yourself a little more, to make it less a routine and more of, let's see what I can do different to make this even more interesting?
Well, the third one, and keeping the theme of animals, when we were out in the woods, I helped invent the character that turns into the lion-headed possession.
Hmm.
And so she turns into the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. And I said, and this actress really wasn't that certain with her. She wasn't that confident. She wasn't certain of what to do. And I said, why don't you go over and start scratching this tree? It's a very Catwoman kind of thing. So it was keeping that spirit of innovation really fresh, no matter what the circumstances were. So it's the same spirit that was in the dance scene in Demons 1, that they let me go wild. And it's the only reason I took the movie. I said, you let me choreograph it, and you let me do whatever I want, and I'll take the role. So they did. And that it's that wild spirit, that rebellious craziness, that wildness. And it also brings a lot of joy with it, and sometimes laughter.
Yeah, you had a good cast, and especially in that first one, Kathy Podwell was in it as well. You know,
I love her.
yep, yep. Um, I was very amused at certain stuff in the second one. I like I love the story arc with the nun.
Oh, she was brilliant. Wasn't she just brilliant with the nunchucks? And
Well, yep.
the super soaker full of holy water. Though, but that wasn't her idea. And I harp on this, that actors always get all the credit for things, and we're just one little cog in the machine. I
Hmm.
mean, we're pawns on the chess set. So repeating back words that somebody else wrote, it's not rocket science. But being a director or a writer or a lighting technician, every single person who contributed their creativity and talent to Demons One was extraordinarily brilliant. And it wasn't the act. I mean, the actors were in their own right, but it's the cinematography that was so great. It's the editing that was so great. It's the music that was so great. Kevin Tenney's brother was the composer on The Demons One, and I got that Bauhaus song, which was also impossible to do. You don't go to the band to get the rights to something. You got to go to RCA or Sony. I mean, it's impossible. He said, can we use the most famous punk rock song of all time? I wrote a personal letter, and they wrote me back and said yes. So that was a miracle, literally, because people always ask me about the music. So
Yeah.
it's a
Oh, yeah. Great. It had great me. One person I wanted to ask about is just a second, bring her name up here. Merle Kennedy as the mouse.
Isn't she so wonderful? Oh, good Lord.
Oh my
Well,
goodness. I was like, when they had her strapped down to the table, and I was like, okay, this escalated.
she's a phenomenal actress. We haven't been in touch since that filming, but I would love to be. I'd love to know what she went on to do. I don't even know.
And you had Christine Taylor, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Darren Heems and I have been in touch. He played Z Boy.
Hmm.
He was phenomenal. And being asked to act possessed, that's all the script said. And now Angela is possessed. I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? And for every single character, they did it their own way, his or her own way. And they brought that to the table. And when you're in a complete fantasy world, and you're having to conjure believable acting in a ridiculously impossible situation. And that's what they did. The Demons 2 cast was phenomenal. They were brilliant.
Yeah, you had a few other interesting movies too that I wanted to bring up. That you were part of. Body Rock, you could play a character named Little Freak.
Oh, that's right. Oh boy. The dancing movies in the 80s were the most fun thing in the world. In Electric Boogaloo, I got to work with my favorite choreographer in the world, Billis Goodson. So I'm one of the Foxy nurses. Now we were in an unair conditioned, abandoned hospital doing the hospital scene, and that was what was his name? It wasn't Shadowdew. It's a dream sequence, and it was over 100 degrees that day, and it was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. So I got to make a lot of those 80s movies as a dancer. Girls just want to have fun, fast forward. I did a lot of television shows with the Motown Review. I got to be a backup dancer for Smokey Robinson, Four Tops, Ray Charles, and then rock videos for Cher, Sheena Easton. Went on tour with Donna Summer. She used to fly me around the helicopter. That's a rock star life. And the dancing was incredibly fun then, and I think it's coming back. Now there are a number of rock videos that have real trained modern and ballet dancers, and you can tell because we were all classically trained. Everyone was either coming from a ballet company, or I was trained in ballet and modern. So what a magical time.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too, but girls just want to have fun. Because I remember the Cyndi Lauper song growing up.
Yeah, my partner was an absolute superstar ballet dancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an incredibly fun thing to make. To get to dance with him was a dream come true.
And of course, I was a teenage vampire.
Well, who wasn't?
What's the most interesting thing you've ever been asked to sign at these conventions? That's always a question I throw out there because I find it fascinating.
One time when my first book came out, and I was trying very hard at the time to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So I had just been featured in the 100 Top Psychics in America. I'd done a slew of talk shows and news programs and radio interviews. The last thing I wanted to have happen was my demon face popping up when people like Oprah Winfrey or the Queen of England were doing web searches on me. And I was at a book signing, and I was signing autographs after I'd given a talk, a very soulful talk about these things that we're talking about love and tenderness and consciousness and connection, and learning how to open your heart and your mind and excavate your spiritual supernatural abilities, and learning how to take care of the planet and the animals. And I see these unlikely characters in my line. They're, covered in tattoos and everything's pierced. And this was way back. This might have been 2001. So this is kind of new at that time.
Uh-huh.
And they came up to me with a prosthetic, bloody, severed foot and asked me to sign it. And trust me, the people on either side of them were looking at them like, what are you doing? And why are you doing it? Because they hadn't seen the horror movies. And a bloody severed foot has nothing to do with any of my movies.
No.
So if you're out there, guys, get back in touch. I want to know why you wanted me to sign a prosthetic foot. I did it. And I was like, okay, now run along. Get out of this bookshop.
And of course, you got your charity. I want to talk charities here for a moment. I was on your webpage. I did do a donation for you. I watched a lot of your videos and stuff, and I was like, I wanted to do a donation. So I did one. And I want you to plug your, not just your webpage, but your charity on here right now.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a nonprofit, and it's called Amelia's Archangel Society. It's ARK Angel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's educating these kids about the evils of poaching, not giving in to the poachers, encouraging the girls to go to school, stay in school, not have to go home and take care of somebody else's baby, because that's what usually can happen. The incest percentage is over 75%. We don't know for sure because the girls won't tell the truth about it. They have to go home and have sex with some elderly family member to keep a roof over their heads. And I work with the girls, and then I encourage the boys to protect the animals, get jobs on the safari parks. And I also have worked in other places. I went into a high school in Italy. Oh, believe it or not, it was the boys that went crazy. I had them dancing as animals. They went crazy. They got into like breakdance wars. And they were pretending to be all these different animals. So I'll call out, "You're a gorilla, you're a tiger, you're a you're a snake, you're an ant, you're a you're a cricket." I mean, and the kids love it. And it's a fun way to teach them about protecting the planet. I hope to be able to do that more, hopefully in South Korea in years to come, and who knows where else I'll get invited. So working with these kids, drawing animals in relationships, talking about family units, talking about, do they have feelings? Would a baby elephant miss his mother if the mother got poached? 60 children said no. And I said, okay, you're the mommy, you're the sister, because they're always in family groups. Who wants to be the poacher? Oh, I want to be the poacher. Okay, who wants to be the baby? They acted it out. I had the poacher shoot the mom, shoot the sister, shoot the whole family. The kids are lying on the floor pretending to be dead. And the baby's still alive. And this African child went up to these other bodies on the floor and was just nosing them, and they wouldn't move. It was an incredible moment. And then I said to the group of kids, now how many of you think a baby elephant would miss his mother if she got poached? All 60 hands went up. So it's what small thing, there is really no such thing as a small thing. Same thing with the charity. Every single penny counts. $10 goes a far way in Africa. And I want to be able to get down there and do the work, expand the work, bring people with me who want to get involved with this. And if you can't, and you need a tax write-off this year, boy, have I got one for you. So it's completely nonprofit. All the numbers are up on the site, so you can see that. And understand how important this is if you want your children to grow up and have elephants still on the planet. The last time I went, I took 2 American volunteers to Zimbabwe, and we did a pangolin campaign. Now, a pangolin is a kind of anteater. They're number 1 on the most endangered species list and illegally poached on the black market.
Oh, Pangorian, yeah.
They make soup out of them in China.
Oh, I didn't know that. They have like the scales on them. Like they're really cool looking.
Only a handful of them left on Earth. And I was on a secret ground floor mission to have a breeding pair hidden so that there will be pangolin on the planet in the next 20 years. But if we don't start saving them and making it a priority for children to understand they can make money protecting these animals and helping tourists visit these animals. And in my case, talk to them, communicate with them, help them understand what they're thinking, what they're needing, what they want. Then they will not be there when your grandchildren grow up. So we don't have any time left with this stuff. We got to get on it.
Well, I wanted to, because I did a shout out to Scotty McCoy, but I also got to do a little shout out to a big fan of yours who's been on the show here named Jimmy Presley.
Oh,
and
nice.
Jimmy did a video that I'm gonna have to send to you, because I'm involved with a charity called for suicide and depression awareness.
Oh, wonderful.
and it's an awareness charity. Remember, I just lost my father to ALS back in April after 8 years, and I remember a few years ago they had the ice bucket challenge for that. And after Robin Williams sadly left us, one came up for suicide and depression awareness called the Doubtfire Face Challenge. And it involved taking a pie in the face and you nominate 3 people. And I threw this out to some of the people I've interviewed, and I've gotten a really interesting response on it. And Jimmy Presley did one, and he threw it out to some people from the horror industry. And he was very creative in his video, like he would have something on hand in the video that represented the person that he was nominating. And I forget what he had, but you were one of the people he nominated.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the video. Jimmy is also a Christian.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, he's got a big heart, and he did one of these, and Scotty McCoy did the challenge as well. Other people in the industry, Sandy Johnson from Halloween did it. Her husband was dressed up as Michael Myers. He put the pie in her face. Nancy McLaughlin did it in front of props from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, and I had some people from the wrestling community had done it, including Roddy Piper's daughter did it right on my birthday, which was pretty cool. I couldn't talk Linnea Quigley into it, although I did donate to her cause. But I thought I would see if I could talk you into doing that challenge.
Well, I need a challenge from my charity. So with this, the question is, do I get to eat the pie? I think what would be more fun is if you could get in touch with Hal Havens, Stooge, see if I can put the pie in his face. With the pig nose on. I'll wear the pig nose. I'll put the pie in his face. Does that count?
Well, Jimmy wanted you to take the pie in the face.
Oh, well, that's not very nice.
Yeah. Well, he loved you as in Night of the Demons, and I forget what I got the video, but he did something that had represented you as well from Night of the Demons. So.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to get a hold of Hal and see if he'll do it with me.
Okay. You guys can both do it together.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's not very likely. We'll come up with a challenge for Archangel. I'm not sure what that would be just yet. I think it would have to involve fangs, though, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
It could.
I don't know, but Jimmy Presley did throw that out to you, so I'll send the link to you. So
Tell Jimmy Presley I'll put a pie in his face. How's that?
He took a pie in the face in the video, and you were the people he nominated.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell him I want him to take the pie, and I'll let my mother cook it. How does that sound? It couldn't get any better than that. She makes the best pie on earth. Thank you so much for this. This has been really, really wonderful. And I hope all the fans who see it will go to my site, which is just my name, ameliakincade.com. Take a look at the online training. Take a look at the webinars. Take a look at the new Angelus Party page that has a lot of the tattoos. If you see this and you have a tattoo me on your body and you're not on my website, get directly in touch with me. And all you have to do is hit contact on my website, send me pictures of your tattoo, and I'm going to pop it up there for you. Then we also have animal communication live seminars coming up. We've got some of the horror conventions coming up. More are happening. I think I've got Minneapolis in September, the Crypticon, or coming up in October, which is my biggest and best season. If people want to contribute, every penny, any penny counts with Archangel. And my book page on Amazon is just my name. If you put in Amelia Kincade books, it's going to pop up. I've got 6 books out in multiple languages. On the website, there's a store page that has my voice in the English meditations, lessons. Things are very cheap. There are also things that are a little bit more expensive where you get 52 audio lessons. Listen to at your leisure. The webinars are live. You're on with me and women from all over the world twice a week. What have I forgotten? My charity is on Amazon Smile. So if you were to go, and it doesn't cost you anything, but if you use Amazon Smile and you look up Amelia's Archangel Society as your chosen charity, every purchase you make on Amazon is going to give a couple of pennies to Archangel. Those things matter. That would help me a lot. And I think that's all the plugging that I need to do right now. But I can't wait to see the fans in person. And if not, jump into my webinars, and at least I get to see you online. And we're going to continue to build this community of love and faith and support all over the world. So thank you so much for this. It's been really fun.
One more thing. Talk about the conversations you've had with spotted hyenas. Did they laugh at you?
I had 2 little boys on my safari who encountered a hyena. And at that point, I had never seen a hyena in the park. And these 2 little boys said, we're going to see a hyena. We're going to see a hyena today. So every day we set our manifestation goals. And I didn't tell them you're not going to see a hyena. So I'm not going to shoot them down. The second the truck took off, we look over, and from under a bridge, out comes this enormous hyena, came right up to these 2 little boys and made their life complete. So, and then I see a lot of hyena, spotted dogs too, which are treasures.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're there waiting to meet you. So you've got to save your money, save your air miles.
The spotted dog, that's they're endangered.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. And this is a wonderful place for them to be kept safe. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say bye for now. And you're fabulous. Thanks for having me, and have a wonderful, blessed night.
Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Tell me what to say.
Just state your name and that you are in the Night of the Demons, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
I'm Amelia Kincade from Night of the Demons Part 1, 2, and 3. And I'm on Greg Gilbert's Python Paradise and loving every second of it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We made it happen. We finally made it happen.
Right.
After work derailed me on it a few times, but we made it happen. I'm glad you listened to my David Howard Thornton interview, because he's coming on here again. He wants to come on again, but yeah, I was worried I was going to lose you there after a while, and I get it. It's frustrating being rescheduled, and I was like, oh man, you know. But I just started this job 2 months ago, and I've been told if I turn down a shift, they might not call me.
Oh.
And so I accept every shift I get. But I've had to reschedule a few interviews, but I need to move up from casual to part-time permanent, so I can have an idea what my schedule is, because it makes it a little easier.
It will. So tell me, where is this going to air and when?
I don't know when it's going to go public yet, because there's a number of interviews in front. I put so many up public a month. When our station went into lockdown, My former station manager told me when I started doing the podcast, she said, don't put up the interviews right away, save some for a rainy day. And COVID turned out to be the rainy day, because once it hit, station went into lockdown. I had about 150 interviews to still put public. So I was able to still keep updating my YouTube channel.
Can you give me a ballpark? Because
Well,
I've got to go. We've been on for an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes.
it's been awesome. Well,
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to do. And this, I'm going to do with you what I do with everybody else. I'm going to send you the link, and you can put it up wherever you
Great.
want to. Yep.
Great. Then I can put it on Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and we'll get it out there.
Yep. Now, it might be unlisted for a while, but you'll be able to still put the link out there and people will be able to see it.
Okay.
Yep.
As long as they can see it, I'll post it.
Yep. Yep. So, but it'll eventually go public. I'm just kind of surfing through them, so, but the unlisted, you'll still be able to post it and people still be able to see it.
Okay, awesome. Have a wonderful night, honey. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I love talking about African wildlife.
That was pretty cool. I'll bet you don't do that every day.
I do it more than you might know. I love African wildlife.
All right, get a good night's sleep. I'm going to say goodbye now.
All right. God bless. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.